Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Code Leaders podcast. Today I'm joined by Alex Akelis and Andrei. Alex has an esteemed background as a head of quality engineering, working for the likes of IMG Arena and John Lewis, while Andrei is currently operating as a senior software engineer at Atlassian and has recently made a transition from an esteemed background in the QA space into software engineering. Today we'll be discussing the unique career journey from QA into engineering, leadership in the space, and the future of the industry. Let's dive straight in.
About them with the wider audience. We actually started our careers back in Belarus, and we worked in the same company for a while, and then we diverged. So I think we both came to realization that industry is always changing, and QA quality and QA and testing is not an exception, really. So speaking about myself, I think I tried almost every role in engineering. So developer, DevOps, and product manager, but always kind of gravitated towards quality and how, not so that we are delivering not only at speed, but, with quality as well, regardless which role I played. And my bread and butter last decade or so was helping companies and different teams to achieve that and improve. At one place, I worked in the capacity of a tech leadership, where I ran a core services cross-functional team, DevOps engineers, automation engineers, and QAs. It was a really great experience from perspective where you're very mobile, you're very efficient. You can quickly switch between teams. You can spend a couple of weeks or a month with them, taste their blood, sweat, and tears, and help them out, and then switch to another one. And you're more in control because you can attack all their limitations and blockers, and you can help them quicker. But once you scale, that model need to scale as well. So my current role is the head of quality, and I work alongside platform, SRE, security teams, and make sure they all sort of come together and all our teams are consistent across.
Yeah, I remember I met Alex, it was, 20 years ago, probably, or something like this. We worked together, and back then we were both probably junior test engineers or something like this. So Alex, as you can see, progressed to more leadership role, and I also went through different transformations. So initially I started as a test engineer, as I said, and then I quickly became a test team leader, and I had a team of test engineers. I managed the team, but I was always passionate about product quality, and it was not always possible with just applying more testing, because more testing is not equal quality. So I was looking for different ways to achieve that. At some point, there was a realization that industry is changing, and maybe there was a shift left movement when everything, all testing was moved towards the beginning of the development lifecycle. So I changed my role to a project manager, and I tried to manage projects, and in my projects I tried to apply these techniques. It was not always possible. Then about 7 years ago, I joined Atlassian as a quality engineer. And it was an interesting role because it combined both worlds, a world of management when I was it was a leadership role when I was the only quality engineer in the team. But at the same time, it was a technical role where it required deep knowledge of the product technologies, because we're kind of focusing on identifying technical risks. But over time, and we can dig deeper into this later, but since then I was gearing towards individual contribution towards engineering. So about 6 months ago, I changed my role to become a software engineer. So now I'm deeply technical, solving technical issues. So I'm now trying to influence product quality from inside the product by implementing high quality features. That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously as you mentioned, we'll touch on that later, but it's definitely fair to say there's been like a relatively notable increase in focus for companies to ensure like software engineers are able to actually test their code. Mindsets like TDD and so on. There's lots of companies having maybe less of that non-traditional QA QA role, if I'd say, or that traditional QA role. Do you think like this is a threat to careers in the quality space? And how have you seen the industry and traditional job roles change, would you say?
Yeah, you're right. I think there is a big move, as I said, towards a shift left or testing first, and engineers actually doing testing. About 20 years ago when I started, it was not possible because we had huge, massive projects with 3 years timeline, and we always had a massive testing phase in the end of the project. But uh, during the progression of the industry, the duration of projects was shorter and shorter and shorter. And now, like, it's maybe my current project can be just 1 hour or even shorter before the task arrives to my inbox, and by the time it's in production, it's really fast. So the industry was changing, and when I joined Atlassian 7 years ago, Atlassian was fully on this mode. Developers were testing their code, and as a quality engineer, I didn't test anything. My role was just to give advice to developers how to be better testers, identify risks, build processes, create tools, but I never touched any test cases, and I would say it worked pretty well. So in regards to your question of how it affects jobs, so it's a tricky question. Maybe Alex can add anything about this, but in my opinion, I see that test engineers need to be prepared to change. In my opinion, I think testing doesn't go anywhere because everyone needs quality, and everyone will need test engineers. There will always be industry projects and products which will require testers, but at the same time, testers need to be prepared to adopt new way of thinking and maybe look deeper into what they do, not try to stick to the role, like don't say that I'm running test cases and that's what I do. Rather focus on looking at the teams, at the problems that the teams have, and try to solve their problems, maybe offer slightly different solutions, maybe a little bit of coaching, a little bit of tools creation, maybe test data. So there's currently everything moves so quickly, there's no such a thing as clearly defined role. You are in the team and you just must do whatever is needed to achieve a high quality. And it can be done in different ways. I see that many in my peer group, I see quality engineers who stay in their roles. They keep testing. They are pretty successful. Some of them move to test automation. They are also very successful. There's a high demand for test automation. Some become software engineers like me. They're also very successful with their backgrounds. Someone tries things like technical program management, a whole bunch of DevOps, whole bunch of different things. And just the last comment from me before Alex jumps in. Sorry about that. So I can recommend. There's a very nice book, and it's a quite small book called "Who Moved My Cheese?" And this book is about everyone needs to be prepared for changes. It's in our human nature to stick to what we like, to what we used to, and just keep doing this, but it's not how the world works. You always need to be prepared for changes. You always need to learn, try new things, see how can you be useful, maybe completely change your role, and it's okay. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no,
That's a
we've
great point.
sorry, go ahead, Alex. So we have a copy of that book actually in our office. So no, it's funny that you mentioned that. And Alex, like you've obviously have Andrei mentioned about that consultative element to the role and so on. Like, how would you sort of deem the industry as well at the moment?
Yeah, no, I agree with all the points Andrei mentioned. I don't really know I have much to add. It was a very comprehensive answer, but one thing resonated is how Andrei described like engineers, quality engineers in Atlassian try different things in different roles. That's actually been my path. I probably couldn't say, unfortunately, that I've been a software engineer as such, like completed on a project, but I've been I've been doing different things and trying from different angles. But I've always been about, where I really feel fulfilled is quality, consistency, integrity. So that's why I will, I naturally want my company and my organization to succeed and be consistent. So that's why a lot of my career was about enabling and supporting other people and making sure that they, quality is built in the process. So they're less reliant on silos groups. Otherwise,
Like that's the case, and do you feel like that your background has given you an advantage into this position?
Absolutely. Our quality testing, test automation skills are completely transferable to the new role. So I can see, I wouldn't say that I'm a top performer in my new role, even though I just changed my role. But I see that I'm quite successful. I have a different point of view on everything. I have different opinion about everything. I have a habit to see problems everywhere and ask stupid questions like, why is it done this way? Maybe it can be done differently. But as I told my manager, I feel like a quality engineer on steroids. Not only I can identify some gaps in product testability, but I can actually go and fix it. And I get highly evaluated for this. So my manager is completely happy. He says like, just keep doing that. And I don't remember how he called me, but he said something along the lines that you are a protector of our product or something like this. So the difference that I see is that the difference that I see in this new role is that my impact can be much broader than if I'm an external person. So, for example, if I work as a quality engineer, I don't have enough empathy for developers, for what they do, what their concerns, maybe problems, and that's why my expectations can be inadequate, and for them it's hard to follow them, and maybe they're not efficient. But as a developer, I have full empathy. I understand everything. I know how the product works, all internals, and at the same time, I have this quality mindset, which allows me to take the helicopter view and maybe look at the bigger picture, identify gaps, and then go back to development and fix them. So one thing I want to add is that I was afraid that maybe my lack of coding skills would be a problem, and I was like really scared, even though I did a lot of preparation for the interview. I did a couple of trainings. I knew that I am not able to compete with developers who had 20 years of experience in coding. But turned out it's not a problem. I'm still efficient. I can learn quickly by using ChatGPT. So I can ask ChatGPT how to do this, how to do that. Can you teach me of this or that? So we work pretty close together with ChatGPT. We're quite productive, and also as a developer, especially in a senior development role as me, coding is not a bottleneck. There are some tasks when you need to produce high quality complex code, but in most cases you just need to be responsible, careful, know what you're doing, think about risks, and ask right questions, and then you can ship tasks without problems. I haven't broken anything. It's like everything is fine.
Yeah, and like I guess you both sort of interacted pretty closely with DevOps as well, and yourself, Alex. Like, how would you say a sort of how would you say your QA background has helped you with adapting to those sort of tasks, those more DevOps focused responsibilities?
Yeah, well, that's a good question too. So I probably had more experience as a DevOps than a developer, and I was running a team with DevOps engineers in there. And you know, to be successful nowadays, you have to be, you have to have skills of diplomacy and collaboration with all, all stakeholders in the project. I think there are two aspects here in terms of QA background. The first one is what DevOps produce as a result, and here the same principles apply. So if you, a simple example, if you create a pipeline, CI/CD pipeline, it's usually or infrastructure. Everything right now is infrastructure as a code, pipeline as a code, and code needs testing, right? So you could create some unit tests for your pipelines code. You don't have to be very comprehensive. You have to stay reasonable always, common sense, and that really helps because CI/CD tools not always as robust as we would like them to be, and it's easy to make a mistake and takes a long turnaround just actually realize something is not working as you expected, because you cannot run all the things in your local machine. So those things help. We were using Jenkins pipeline unit test plugin back in the day, for example, and it worked really well. I guess the other thing when it comes to working together, the other side of things is you have to collaborate. You have to be partners, because essentially, if you try in your organization to improve or transform, that's the combined effort, right? So there is no single person responsible for quality. That's the nowadays mindset. So quality engineers are not sole owners of the quality, and often for you to be able to use more automation or be quicker in production, you need to fight some, you need to resolve some technical infrastructure, build other limitations. In this way, you pair together and you create common pipeline. You need different efforts there. You also want to be consistent. So that's why nowadays it's very popular to have a platform team. So they're not called DevOps anymore. That teams specifically called platform because they create a common platform where the infrastructure is managed in a consistent way, deployments, builds, hosting in the cloud or otherwise, and similar for QA tools. If you want to automate, then you want to be consistent. So for cost efficiency and just to be able to use best practices and libraries, etc., makes sense. So that's why there are sometimes core teams of SDETs, automation engineers, who just produce the same. So they do, for example, I run, apart from the quality engineering practice at MG Arena, I also manage a small team of SDETs who are, we do have a tech radar of automation tools, and our products span across, web APIs, WebSockets, Kafka, backend services, data, video streaming, and different technologies are in place. So the tech radar is really helpful to sort of manage that, and then provide different, recommend different tools and consistent tools to different companies. So I think it's a very similar approach. So regardless of your background in engineering, it's easier to collaborate and work together with other disciplines than people might think, actually, because there are a lot of commonalities. And nowadays everyone working closer together, that's becomes essential.
Yeah, and adaptability, isn't it? It is key in an industry that's always changing pretty fast as well. And I think like one main part of the podcast series has always been about leadership as well. And it's both, I think it's fair to say that in your careers, you both had those leadership responsibilities, whether that be by title or by sort of influence without that authority, essentially, in a sense, and leading as like an individual contributor. How have you found taking on those responsibilities within the quality space, and do you think like your leadership styles sort of differ with that in mind?
It's a very interesting question, to be honest, because initially I started as a more conventional leader. I was, as I said, I was a leader of a quality testing team, and I was a project manager. So to be honest, I did not enjoy it as much because I was actually jealous for my engineers doing engineering work and me doing some management tasks and similar high level things, meetings. And I felt like it was draining me because internally I just wanted to be an engineer. And it was my passion. But unfortunately, back in a day in Belarus, it was not really possible to grow in a different way other than to be a manager. Both career and financially, it was not possible. However, when I joined Atlassian and other bigger companies, there are two tracks. One is technical track, another is managerial track. And I decided to stay on technical track because I can grow, and I'm still a leader. So if I'm a senior engineer, starting from a senior engineer role, I'm expected to lead other people. But it's not a direct management. It's technical leadership, driving different initiatives. If I want to grow even higher, the expectations are even bigger. But this as you mentioned, it's leadership without authority. You just need to lead by example. You need to be an expert in what you're doing. You lead not because you're given permission to lead, but you lead because you naturally very knowledgeable, experienced, and valuable person, and everyone else wants to do what you do. And for me personally, it's more rewarding, but I also see many people in our organization who naturally enjoy management and leadership. They don't like coding as much, and I can't imagine them doing what I do, switching to senior software developer role.
Yeah, no, it echoes a lot to me, Andrei, as well. I mean, we haven't been working together in the same companies for a while, but yeah, it's very, very similar experience. I think I actually do enjoy leadership, but at the same time, I cannot really let off go the technical and hands-on bit too much. So I kind of keep myself for a while in that very challenging challenging stool where you're trying to sort of sit on two stools actually at the same time. But as long as you realize that leadership is probably not so much about the role, it's more about behaviors and how we deal with others. It's more, it's important in case space anyway, and that your main goal as a manager, for example, is not to create bottleneck, not to become a bottleneck for the team, and trust your team in on their levels and in technical side of things. You can assume more of a facilitator role, where, for example, you have system design discussions or you have tool selections process. You can be a facilitator. You can chip in sometimes, but you sort of land together and you make decisions together, then the decision will stick. So you should not really step over your role there. I think that's one of the lessons I learned via a series of setbacks in the past. But like speaking about styles, and is it different in case space? I don't think it's that much different. So leadership is probably a universal thing as much. And like I said, my style gravitates more to the servant leadership and putting the success of the whole team at the front and supporting them, making sure their personal lives and their professional development, their interests are fulfilled and played by the strengths. So what's different in the case space is the greatest challenge there is not for you finding bugs and hitting release deadlines as much. It's about making sure that quality is actually appreciated. It's one of the values of the company you work in, and transforming the culture of quality within the organization. So that requires all those skills which we already mentioned in terms of influence without authority. So you gotta prioritize being diplomatic, diplomacy, persistence, setting clear vision, and then also finding different approaches to different stakeholders. So you need to be people person, and you need to build those relationships across the organization for you to succeed, and for your engineers, for your team to succeed as well.
Just a small add-on from me. I forgot about this. Leadership without authority. What I really liked and what resonates with me, I heard from someone, probably a quote from some books, how people recognize you as a leader. There are several levels, like depending on what you've done for your colleagues, what you've done for your team, what you've done for your organization. So the more valuable you are, the more you are recognized as a leader in your organization. And it's kind of what I'm trying to adhere to, trying to be useful.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that influence of our authority is what really also benefits like people who are looking to learn new skills as well. Actually seeing somebody, on the tools and learning directly from them. And I think, like, finally, guys, like, obviously we spoke about the QA space and the changes over the last years and so on, and the roles, but where do you both see the industry heading in the coming years, would you say?
Yeah, I think at the beginning we spoke about that the industry is ever changing, and it's it seems like the technology advances, for example, AI tools, they all they speed up the change as well. So we all need to adapt. But as Andrei said before, there will always be a need for to do testing one way or another, and Andrei probably would appreciate when you change your job. For example, he moved into development. It's really tricky. It's really challenging to wear different hats at the same time. So depending on the size of the teams and companies, there will always be a place for someone who understands how to test efficiently, the user experience advocate, etc., and someone who actually can then be responsible for consistent approach, for the strategy, for tracking metrics, and actually providing data to showcase why improvements are necessary, why you need to, for example, you often need to show that slowing down right now is actually for you to go in faster later, these kind of things. So I don't think that testing and QA job is going to vanish. It's still the will be the place, but it's changing. And I think some of the advice we spoke about before was probably becoming a bit more technical, or finding yourself more as a user advocate and maybe playing with the product management team more closely.
Mhm.
For example, my role as enabler, I don't think is going to go away any soon, and I'm really sort of enjoying it, and I hope it will stay at least, right? So it's I really enjoy that blend between different disciplines, and helping others is sort of my passion.
I've I've lost my crystal ball somewhere, so I can't say what's gonna happen with the industry. But I think yeah, I agree with Alex, and I think we can all predict with the high level of certainty that the industry will keep changing. We don't know what direction it will gonna change, because such disruptors as artificial intelligence, we have never experienced anything like that. We don't know what's gonna happen. I feel positive about it. I find it as a helper, which will allow me to move faster. Like Steve Jobs said that the computer is a bicycle for your brain. I think AI is the next level bicycle for your brain. So that's what I think. But yeah, just want to repeat that probably everything will continue moving towards more automation, more technical but direction. But I also agree with Alex. It is important to understand people, their needs. So product management is also a very important integral part, and people management is also important. Probably it will be faster, my opinion, even faster than now. Maybe now it's 1 hour lead time to production. It will be like you will fix it in production while customer is doing something. I don't know, but yeah, I guess we just need to be prepared for changes.
Yeah, and I think we also mentioned AI tools. I forgot to say about that. I think I take this as well. Computer come into our lives like in the last century. You got to use it. So there probably will be different levels of, depending on your job and your industry, how much you know about this, whether you sort of develop your data models and the tools, or you just use them. It's inevitable as it's in right now. But AI can be really a good friend for a tester as well. Developer tester, it can make your testing more efficient from generated test data and user journeys, and making sure coverage is good, to just automating some of the stuff for you or with you. But there will always be a need, well, at least right now, for the person, for people to sort of make sure, make sense of what is produced. So it's more like a partnership, I hope. Yeah. But I think just in terms of the future, yeah, like Andrei mentioned, crystal ball. That's probably the skill which I want to acquire, is how to create a crystal ball, but it's hard to predict really. What works really well for us right now is we have a really like skeleton team of quality engineers, and it's probably very similar to how quality coach has been working in Atlassian, that Andrei's role before development a year ago. And it really, that profession doesn't go away. Although our developers write and most of our teams write and that automated tests themselves, there's still a need for a person who understands each vertical domain very well, its users or consumers, and its technology stack. And we usually have like a quality coach or quality lead is embedded in each sort of vertical and department. And then apart from the strategy and making sure people are aligned, they also can be responsible about the user experience, end-to-end testing the whole thing together, and making sure that's also accounted by automation, because this is a really tricky one to automate. So that really works really well. And in terms of partnering with other guys, with other disciplines, we built a network, like a quality. It's a quality practice. My title is head of quality practice right now, and it's really a network across teams. So it's not even like a guild or something, right? A specialist. It's a network, and in every department and every team we have a developer quality advocate. That's how we call them. In the absence of QA, or because they're just so interested, or maybe they developer like Andrei with a QA background, they are the people I can lean on and sort of make sure it works. So I don't have to scale up myself or my team. We can still stay small and efficient, but this is the way the best practices are spread across, and that works really well for us. So just in terms of the future, if some companies are not there yet, this is how it can work. And I don't see where, like Andrei was saying, automation, less of manual testing, all sort of like observability and monitoring and production. It all drives into development team or product team, the engineering team producing some product or platform to take an end-to-end ownership of quality with some help if they need to. This is what I think is the recent trend. And and quality engineer need to be understanding this whole thing end-to-end as well, including observability tools. And then one of the things which becomes really important right now is how we deal with data. So you cannot just say, like, I know this, I saw this podcast, for example, and Alex mentioned this practice that's implemented across company. It's not going to work, right? So, but then you can use the data metrics to actually prove your point. So you can track your automation coverage and how change in automation coverage reduces or increases changes the number of bugs in production, or from your observability tools, issues or failures, your DORA metrics, etc. So this kind of one other advice I can give to QA leads out there is look into the data, use it to your advantage, use AI tools to prove your points, and or change your point according to data, and advise something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, I really appreciate you jumping onto the podcast. It's been really interesting to see this from a quality point of view. So yeah, really appreciate both of your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Marcus. Thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, guys.